Thank you. So I'm not a big fan of slides, but again, to keep us in scope and to make sure that we touch everything that we need to touch, we will have to use slides today. And just in case you don't know, I am privileged to be the vice president of career event and presently do a lot of trainings and on the job support for business analysts, data analysts, project managers, and also scrum masters. So in January, we have our bootcamp starting for the same courses, business analysis, data, project management, and the agile scrum. And as a privilege for showing up today, we're giving 20% discount for everyone on this call. So if you're not yet in the field or you think you need to learn more, feel free to WhatsApp us or send us an email and we can take the discussion further. So without wasting time, let's dive into why we're here today. So, do, 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 okay, so we're here today because we would like to discuss the role of a business analyst in software development. And I think that this is important because one of the challenges of transitioning into a new role is that a lot of people don't even understand what the role is, what they do. Even surprisingly, sometimes I speak to business analysts who are already on the job and still they don't understand how their job comes in and what do they have to do part time. Because again, within the software development environment, we have like different stages in development. What do I have to do? And you understanding what to do keeps you ahead of the curve. So I already know that after this is the next thing, and then I know what to do. That way, you can show to the organization your level of expertise as a business analyst. So this webinar is going to be beginner friendly. Apologies to my senior colleagues who have a good grasp of terminologies and stuffs within the business analysis environment. I just want to make sure that even newbies can be here and really enjoy this session and when they watch the video as well. So let's dive in. So welcome to our company, and our company is Career Avian. So I want to ask you either you're an aspiring business analyst or you are already a business analyst for some years, just to make sure that you're seeing the right thing. Are you seeing welcome to our company with the logo Career Avian?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And again, this is part of the skills that we use as business analysts so that you're not sharing your WhatsApp instead of visual documents. You have to always make sure that you're doing the right thing. So, what kind of a business analyst are you? Are you a forward-thinking business analyst, or what do I have to do business analyst? And we'll spend some seconds talking about this. So, either you're on the job or you're looking to be a business analyst. There are two kind of business analysts: those people who take initiative and the one who is waiting for deliverables. So, what do we mean? You get on the role as business analyst. I've had, people calling me, "Oh, Femi, I got a job. It's been 3 weeks. They've not given me any project to do. What should I do?" Right? You don't want to be that, what do I have to do business analyst. You want to be a forward thinking, and that's how we train or prep business analysts to be. When you don't have anything doing, there's a tons of things to do, and that's why we call them the forward thinking. You on your own can start to see how you can help the organization even before being handled the project. How do we do this better? Who is doing this? How long does this take? You're always analyzing and trying to see how best to achieve a better outcome in a set of processes, right? So let's move on. When we start talking, you will get to understand what really makes you a forward-thinking business analyst or the what do I have to do business analyst. So I'm encouraging you, if you're on the role or you're getting into the industry, don't be a what do I have to do business analyst, because people there, you never get promoted. If there's any issue with the company, you will get sacked faster because they feel like you only do things when they ask you to do it. So moving on. Now we spoke about the business analyst who is what we have to do and the one who is always thinking about the initiative. So for the purpose of this webinar, we will be developing an application. So for Career Haven, we have 200 staff. So we don't, but let's assume that we have 200 staffs and we have an office building. where everybody works on site. And presently, our HR process, when somebody needs to go on leave or they are sick or whatever it is, they have to send an email to the HR, who then communicates with the manager to see, okay, is Kende able to go on leave, or is Kende having enough like free time so that we can grant her a 2 weeks leave or so. So this process is presently being done manually. That's how we do our thing, right? And I'm going to select somebody from the audience so that that person becomes our business analyst. And this is random. If I don't select your name, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because it's random. So who is Aliru Omenesa? I hope I pronounced that correctly. If you can hear me, can you unmute, please? So we will move ahead. If you can hear me, who is Francisca Adeniyi? If you can hear me, please unmute. And if you cannot hear me, do we have somebody who wants to volunteer as our BA in this project?
Okay, I'll volunteer.
And that's Sulaiman Yusuf, right? Thank you so much. So congratulations, Sulaiman. We are extending an offer for a senior business analyst position in Career Eve, and you will be resuming in our company this very minute. Okay. There are some jobs that have you have interview and you resume immediately, right? So today you're going to be resuming as a business analyst in our company. So Sulaiman Yusuf is our business analyst. So here we have initiative versus project. What is an initiative and what is a project? So Sulaiman is resuming as a BA for the first time in career area. He has to do a lot of analysis in our company. So it's his first day of work. He's speaking to the manager, speaking to his team members. Oh, my name is this. This is what we do. So week two, Sulaiman doesn't want to be, what do I have to do, business analyst. He doesn't want to wait for the manager to say, hey, this is the project that we're working on, or this is what I want you to help with. By himself, he's doing what we call the current state analysis. He's looking at our set of processes. How do we do this? How do we do that? So he's checking how do we do like student intake? How do we carry out our boot camps? How do we do like hiring and all of that? He's reviewing a lot of things with existing documentations, asking questions where he can, and he stumbled on our leave application method. And it's like he's reviewing this documentation and creating a current state map that how do we or how do members of our company request for a leave or if they want to go on vacation. And he sees that, oh, so I have to send an email to the HR, HR contacts my manager has to send it to head of operations. It's a whole back and forth of email. And he's already seeing that this doesn't make sense. We can't do things this way because maybe I want to go on vacation next week but my own manager is on vacation, which means if I put in a leave request, it's not going to be accepted because my manager is away. That way, I cannot go on the leave. So he is doing the current state analysis and identifying all the gaps in this process. He is looking at flaws in this process. Remember, nobody called Suleiman to do anything. Nobody has given Suleiman any job. So, but Sulaiman is not what do I have to do, business analyst. He is the business analyst who is up and running. He wants to find the solution to the problem. And this is one mistake that people do when they get into the field of business analysis. You look at your job as only project. No, your job is to assist the organization. Even when you're working with project one, project two, project three, project four, it doesn't matter. In several ways that the organization is doing things, you can bring improvement. Oh, why are we doing documentations this way? Oh, why are we doing our meetings this way? Oh, where do we keep our files? Why are we storing it in this folder? Why don't we do this? Why don't we use this? Right? You're always suggesting better ways to do things, right? So back to Sulaiman's journey in career haven. Now Sulaiman has done a process flow map to see how the end-to-end flow of our leave request goes. And he's identifying so many gaps. Like I said, gaps is my manager is away, my leave doesn't get accepted. So if my manager is sick for 2 weeks, I cannot go on leave. Now, having identified the gap, Solomon is thinking as a business analyst who is thought provoking, he wants to find a way to solve the problem. Nobody has contacted him to talk about it. And he's like, okay, what can we do? I think he's thinking if we have an application or something that we can integrate with our present system that allows everyone to manage this leave, I think it will be better. So instead of submitting an email and then the manager is not around to approve it, we can have an application called the leave approval application. So that when we build this application, people make requests online. If the manager is not away within the application, it's already been developed that that leave application gets gets to the person who is replacing or who is helping out with the manager's role, and the person has the authority to approve such leave, so that all of these the gaps can be eliminated. And at this point, everything that Sulaimon is talking about is still an initiative. It's not a project because it doesn't have a budget. It doesn't have a timeline. So Sulaiman is just having an initiative. It's an idea. So Sulaiman now walks up to a manager and say, "Hey, I was reviewing this set of processes and I feel like we can do this better." And the manager was like, "Yeah, we've been kind of thinking about this and we know that we can do something, but nobody has really thought about it, but I'm really happy that you brought this up. Can you please present me a business case so that we can present to the executives and tell them that, okay, we found a solution to this problem?" So I must say, awesome, I can do that right away. I will get to the job. So Lemon goes back and start drafting the business case. And for those of us who don't understand what a business case is, it's kind of a justification for the idea that Sulaiman brought up. So I brought up an idea that we need to build an application for our leave approval. So I need to draft a document that shows to the management what is the benefit of this application. How will it help us? Okay, when we use this application, what are the risks involved? How much is it going to cost us? Okay, even if we don't use an application, do we have other alternatives? So the business case is that document that provides the justification for the project. So Suleiman goes, drafts a business case, and brings back to the manager. Manager presents to the executive, like CEO, VPs, and stuff. And they were like, wow. So this business case says presently leave approval takes 2 weeks, but on the application, it can take as fast as 10 minutes. So they are really wow. They look at the cost, it's reasonable. They look at the potential risk, they don't really see so much problem. Now they say, oh wow, let's go. So they sign it off, and on this point, at this moment, your idea or initiative becomes a project. They sign it off and they are committing resources to it. So now we're moving from the idea that you had, that Sulaiman had, right? It's now becoming a project because the business case has been signed off and now the project can start. And at this point, that's where we have assembling the project team. So Sulaiman is the BA, who is the project manager, who is the tester, who are the developer, where we have our UI and UX. And again, for those who who are not familiar with this terminology, UI simply stands for user interface, and the UX is more of user journey, right? On how will this application look like, what color, what alignment, all of this is answered by the UI UX team. Now we have a project at our hand. Congratulations, Lemon. You've just been in our company for 1 month and you've single-handedly drove a project to start. And I can tell you, this is the position that you want to be when you're working in any company. You are seen as a person of value. They don't want to let you go. Even when you tell you them you got another job, they probably tell you that, can you help us with this? Or do you want to stay and do this? We know you need to go because it's more money that we can offer you, but we need you to help us with this. It's so surprising that even company in Canada offers that when they see the value that you bring to the table. And it's just simple. Don't sit around, try to find ways to help the organization. You're not a project manager. It's only project manager that waits for project to come before they deliver. As BAs, we can drive initiative and lead them to project ourselves. Without spending so much time here, now Suleiman has a project. Let's dive in. What is the role of a business analyst in software development? Okay, so like I said, our initiative is now a project. We now have our project team. Like I said, project manager, the developer, the tester, UI, UX, solution architect. It could go more depending on the size of your company. You could have SMEs, depends on how large your organization is that and how much money they have in drafting the team. So they could really have a lot of things. You could even have a database administrator. We will get to that when we talk about the team members. But the project initiation as a business analyst, what is your role? What is Sulaimon's role? Now, Sulaimon has driven an initiative and he's made it a project, right? So where does he start? What do we do? Now we have a project manager and the team is all ready. And where does the process start? And it starts from the identification of stakeholders. And again, for newbies on this webinar today, who are our stakeholders? Our stakeholder is anybody who is going to be involved or who is going to be impacted by this our leave approval application. So not just the people who will use it, but the people who will be impacted. And by impacted, we mean those people whose life will change, those people whose jobs will change, those people whose set of processes will change. So, for example, in the previous process, this Aziz, how we currently do leave approval, maybe at some point we have an administrator who keeps record of all the leaves that happens in every week. So now that we are using an application, even though this administrator will not be involved in the application, but our job, he or she, the job will change, right? I don't want to be sexist in the role. So he or she, as an admin, administrator or admin assistant or whatever name, jobs will change because that person does not have to do what they currently do. So that is our definition of stakeholders. The person or the set of people who will be involved and the set of people who will be impacted by what we're building. So that is our stakeholders. So Suleiman starts by identifying the various stakeholders involved in this project. And you might ask the question, how do you identify the stakeholders? Suleiman is new. He's just a month in the company. He doesn't know everybody, right? There's so many ways that Suleiman can identify stakeholders. He can use existing documentations, maybe previous project that has to do with leaves or HR, you can use this documentation and see the list of people that he worked there. That could be an extract. Remember that Suleiman did a current state analysis and he did a flow chart, which shows that employee requests leave, he goes through the HR sends to manager, manager sends to head of operation. This flow that he did is also another way that he can identify the relevant stakeholders because the Aziz is what we will use to make our to be. That is the current state versus the future state. So Suleiman can use this flowchart to identify the stakeholders. Again, remember that Suleiman got this approval of the business case from some set of people. He can interview them. These are the sponsors. Say, hey, who are the people that you think that we need to speak to in doing this our leave approval application? They will give names. Suleiman can also use the organogram, right? Which is the organization chart. And you can see in departments within our HR, within the employee relations, you can see the relevant people that are there. So using these various means by eliciting it or by discussing with the project sponsor and by even discussing with his own project team, he is able to come up with relevant stakeholders for the project. And these your stakeholders can be internal or external. So we can have external stakeholders, maybe government bodies, maybe regulation. Maybe let's look at Canada, for example. Maybe there is a body that manages leave or employee relations that has like some certain laws that, okay, if your employees request a leave, you cannot refuse if this leave is requested 2 weeks ahead, right? So that means we have a government regulation that is dealing with this project. So Suleiman has to understand that there are external stakeholders and that government body becomes an external stakeholder on the project. When we get to the stakeholder engagement plan, we will understand where they come in. So now Suleiman has the list of stakeholders identified. What is the next thing to do? I frequently ask students this question that once you've identified your stakeholders, what do you do next? The person says, oh, we start requirement gathering. Then I ask a follow-up question. How do you know how to gather your requirement? And simply for newbies on this webinar again, our requirements simply means from all the people who are involved, who is going to be impacted by this project, we gather their opinion on either the use or the level of impact that this project will have on them. Like, what would you like to see in our leave approval application? How would this affect your work? What do you do in this process? How, we gather all of this requirements so that we can build the right solution. But before requirement gathering, you've identified the stakeholders. You need to do what we call the stakeholder engagement plan. And under the stakeholder engagement plan, what are we trying to do? Because every stakeholder is different. Their level in the organization is different. Some are operating on the strategic, some are operating on the delivery horizon, which is like level in the organization. It simply means we have executive, we have wing managers, and we have like staffs and operation staff, so to say. You need to understand how you are going to engage with them, because the truth is you will not engage with your CEO the same way you will engage with your line manager. So from the stakeholder engagement plan, I don't want to be too technical, but it's something that we call a RACI matrix. So for the new business on the meeting, this is a way that we understand RACI matrix simply means who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted, and who should be informed. So within your stakeholder, there are some people who are responsible for certain tasks in the project. There are some people who we need to consult to find some things, and there are some people who are accountable, which means when we do this, this person has to give a buy-in. This person has to approve that what we're trying to do makes sense. So that person is accountable because that is their own line. So it could be that now the person who is accountable for this project is our HR manager. So when we develop this new solution, if the CEO or the VPs will have a discussion, they might not even call the BA. It might be the HR manager that they will call. That, okay, yeah, we found out that you developed a new application. Can you tell us how it's doing? So that person is accountable for that line of operation that we are building the project. And then who is to be informed? Remember, we said the stakeholders are people who will be involved or impacted. So for those people who will be impacted, we need to inform them that, hey, this is how you do it. This is how it's going to be done now. And then we need to inform the government too that presently we were using this manual approach, but now we've built an application for this. Does this still conform with the regulation that has to do with leave application for employees in Canada? Right? We inform them and then they can say that yes, everything is good. So knowing this, that's how you understand how you want to communicate with them. So in your stakeholder engagement plan, you're looking at the various ways of communicating. Is it via emails? Are you going to be conducting interviews? Are you going to be doing one-on-one? And in your stakeholder engagement plan, you will understand where does this stakeholder live. Maybe I'm in Canada and our HR manager works remotely from Mexico. What time zone is this manager? What is the best way to reach the manager? Does this person like Teams meeting or the person just likes email? So here we're able to draft a communication plan on how we want to engage with all these people based on the racy metrics that we've done, right? Somebody that is accountable for a particular line of operation versus somebody who is to be informed. I'm sure that we know we can't communicate with them the same way because that person that is accountable, it's a big part of the project. We need to constantly meet with that person. So maybe email is not the right approach because email can easily be misunderstood. But the person who we want to inform, we're just sending out that information. We can use a newsletter, we can use a bulletin, we can send an email, right? Because we just want to inform you. We need your opinion, but we don't outrightly need you to modify what we're saying. We just want to tell you this is the progress or this is the outcome of this project, right? Not to spend so much time. So the stakeholder engagement plan gives us that template to understand how we want to relate with everybody on the project. Good. So Limon has done the stakeholder engagement plan. It's time to swing into action. Now we know that Mr. A, we need to send an email. Mr. B, we need to organize a focus group interview with their team. Mr. C or Mrs. D, we need to have a one-on-one section. We have all of this written down. And mind you, you might have to do a kind of verifying all of your engagement plan with these stakeholders by asking them, are you okay with the team's meeting? Are you okay with a one-on-one 2 times a week? What is your availability? Are you going on leave in the next 3 months? All this is how you do your stakeholder engagement plan. And if you don't do it, the project can run into chaos. So imagine that our HR manager, who's a key person in this project, is going to be on mat leave in the next 2 months. And this project is going to last 7 months. So if you don't do a stakeholder engagement plan, you don't even know about that person's availability, right? So you just start the project, and in the middle of the project, you find out that the person who you've been gathering requirement for is going on vacation. If there's a replacement, the replacement doesn't understand everything that that person does. At least 100%. It's not possible. Maybe 30, maybe 40, depending on the organogram and how it's been structured, right? So you can see that you can run into problems, and then you can start gathering wrong requirement or incomplete requirement. So that is why that very important your stakeholder engagement plan gives the architecture of everybody involved and how you would interact with them. Moving on, we have a robust engagement plan that has also been verified by these stakeholders, and Suleiman is going forward to requirement gathering. Now we're sending the emails out, we're doing the one-on-ones, we're doing the interview, we're sending the surveys, we're sending everything that we've already planned to gather all the requirements. I won't spend so much time here because requirement gathering in itself, it's a topic that we can go for a full week talking about it. We're talking about the techniques, the methodology, the application, storage, reuse, requirement management, requirement lifecycle analysis, and a whole bunch of it. So it's a really big place. But let's just assume that Sulaiman has now gathered all the requirements needed for this application. He has spoken with our employees and say, hey, when you need to approve or when you need to apply for a leave, what kind of information do you give? So they say, oh, I have to state the date, I have to state the time, I have to state how many leave I have left, blah, blah, blah. All this information is what is gathered as requirements. He also speaks to the manager who approves this leave. He says, oh, I have to give a first layer approval. And after that, I need to send it to the operations manager who gives a second layer approval. And then we need to send it to the VP of operations for the final approval. So Suleiman is gathering this requirement on how all this goes. Because when we build the application, it has to reflect on all of this. And while gathering the requirements, Suleiman is also understanding why so many things exist. So maybe he's gathering requirement talking to the HR manager. Why do you need to, speak to the operation manager before a person goes on leave? Oh, the operation manager understands projects that we are running and they understand the delivery time and they can help us manage resources, right? So in his requirement gathering, he's going to identify why certain things exist. So maybe there are business rules. Maybe there's a compliance that is exists in the industry or in the company, and that's why they do certain things. He can get this information because the truth is, no matter how you want to improve, you can't change the business rule. You can put it up for review, but you can't change it. So if the business rule says that the operations manager must approve a leave when we develop the application and we're setting up the approval flow, the operation manager should still be the one doing that. Okay, going forward, so Lemon has gathered all the requirements. He has them documented. Again, like I said, requirements is a whole big thing. The documentation could be in form of a BRD, which is your business requirements documentation, SRS, your system requirement specification, your architecture vision document, AVD, a bunch of stuff, right? We're not going deep into requirement gathering and documentations today. Now he has it all documented. Flowchart, use cases, user stories, whatever he has decided to or document the requirements with, he needs to verify the requirement. And this is one place that comes confusing even to people in business analysis framework. What do we do when we verify requirement? It's simple. You've gathered something via meetings that you've recorded, via emails, you've documented it. How are you sure that whatever you've written down is correct? So verifying requirements is just verifying what you've documented for completeness. So we're doing a walkthrough of the documentation, or we're sending the documentation to the stakeholders and say, hey, please help me review this BRD. Make sure it captures your expectation that everything that you want me to do is what I have written down and it's it as you want it. So there could be some series of back and forth in your verification. Oh, Suleiman, don't put this, remove this. Oh, Suleiman, you didn't put this, add this. Oh, Suleiman, this terminology is wrong, right? You verify the requirement for completeness. So at this point, let's assume that the verification is done. The stakeholders agree that everything that you've written down captures the expectation of what they want to see. Thank you, Sulaiman. You have your requirements verified. What is the next step? Moving on. So remember that in the beginning, when Sulaiman had an initiative, did a business case, and now becomes a project, there was a project team that was put together. Your project manager, your solution architect, development team, which would comprise of your front-end developer, back-end developer, full stack, many, 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 many. I don't want to go into details today so that I don't confuse you. You could also have your database administrator. Again, you can't dive deep into all these roles, right? So we have your tester. At this point, remember that Sulaiman now has his requirements verified. So he brings to the project team and say, hey, guys, now we have this requirement verified that the stakeholders have agreed that whatever I've written down is what they want to see. So we can start actioning on it, start discussing it within the team. So at this point, the project manager is looking at, okay, for this, I think we will need 3 months. or within 4 months, or oh, we had like an estimate of 4 months before, but based on the requirements that you have, because the developer will say, oh, so for this leave approval application, they want to integrate our workflow management, maybe a CRM, and these, all from the requirements, the developer can say, I need 4 months on this because based on what I'm seeing on ground, it's going to take me 4 months. The database administrator is saying, okay, for us to pull all the applications from the different sources, from the OHM or whatever application, I don't want to make it crazy for everyone on this same webinar today. So, but the database administrator is saying, we need data from here, we need data from there, it exists here, or we even need to build our own database, or what kind of database are we going to use. He will estimate his own work and say, this is what I would do. It's going to take me 3 months. The development team is saying, okay, we need to build a leave approval application. What is the tech stack that we want? Again, I don't want to be too technical. Do we want to go with a simple HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for JavaScript for defining the logic, or do we want to use Django or whatever? There's a bunch of what do you call it, coding languages out there, right? They will decide in the team. And the solution architect is somebody who is knowledgeable within the domain that we want to build. So maybe he is an expert in developing employee management applications, could be a Microsoft person. He has extensive knowledge within that domain that we're trying to achieve. And why do we need such a person? Because this person can guide us that, oh, you need the leave approval application. I think the best way to do it is, don't let us build an application that exists as a mobile application. Let us build a web application, and let us host it on Azure because of this reason, that reason. Maybe it's a large company. And if we host this on Azure, as part of the leave, people have to upload documents like, oh, if you have a medical issue and you need a quick medical vacation, you should be able to upload the documents, upload the evidence, and all of that, right? This is just an assumption. He can help us design what is the best way to accomplish this. So now, without wasting so much time here, the development team within this discussion, they are building a way to make this happen. Remember that Sulaiman brought a verified requirement. So everything that happens at these stages is, how do we carry this out? How do we do this? And I'm just going to deviate a bit from this project by using something that is very practical. So imagine that we weren't building a leave application, but we were building a mouse, like mouse for computer. Just, I want to explain in a practical way so that you understand what's going on. So Suleiman gathered the requirements that people need a mouse that they can use to operate on their computer, that they don't like using their hands to drag the console, that they need a mouse. So in his requirement, they said they want something that is small, that the hand can hold, should have a left and right click, should have a button that you can like scroll, a scroll button on top. That's the requirement. So when Suleiman brings that verified requirement to the team will look at, how do we design this mouse? So that's what they are doing here. And how do we design this application? What tech stack do we use? Where should we host it? What kind of database structure should we have? That's everything that's happening within this environment. So now we did the mouse. So the team is now working together. If you can see my hands. So you have this mouse, it's smaller, and you have this one, it's bigger. The scroll button of this one, if I can bring it closer, the scroll button of this one is black. The scroll button of this one is white. So at this point, the team is saying that, okay, I think we can show this to the stakeholders. This is one mouse, this is another mouse. Like, this is an option that we have. And what we call this is our design option or our solution option, which the team is saying, okay, Sulaiman, we've seen the requirements. We can either do it this way or we can do it this way, right? So that's what is going on within this discussion. But now I'm showing you a mouse which is physical that you can see. So it's easy to say, oh, this one has a black scroll button, this one has a white scroll button. But in the form of this application now, so back to the project, what happens here is that we create wireframes and mock-ups, which are like visual expression of what the application will look like, how the front page will look like, how the clicks will look like, what the colors will look like, which must mirror the requirement. So if the requirement has specified the color of the home page or the color of the click button or whatever, the mockup should also be a reflection of that, because we're trying to achieve what the requirement that was gathered. So now the team came up with a mockup or a wireframe and mockup, depending on how team works. Suleiman will now take this design option. It can be one, it can be two, it can be three. Suleiman will now take it back to the stakeholders and say, hey, stakeholders, based on the requirement that you people have said it's correct, I've met with my team. This is how we think we can execute this leave approval application. And they will do a review. Okay, Suleiman, can you share your screen and show us what the mockups look like? So Suleiman shares the screen. Oh, why do we have a black button on the top? I think it's not visually appealing. Can we change that to blue so that it's consistent with the company colors? They say, okay, Suleiman is noting down or probably recording the meeting. So Suleiman, at this point, what is Suleiman doing? Suleiman is validating the requirement. And this is one thing that I've seen. Maybe I've spoken to, I don't know, 100 BAs, but at least 70 always get it wrong when I ask what is validating requirement. They say, oh, this is when the stakeholders say that this is what they want. No, when we are validating requirements, we are validating the verified requirement against the design option, that this design option will uh, fulfill the requirements, and the stakeholders are agreeing that okay, everything that you guys have designed is enough for the leave approval application that we want to build. We like the color, we like the layout, we like the user journey, we like everything. It's all good. So at that point, we are validating the requirement. So whenever you get asked anywhere, what is validating requirements? It's not an approval of the requirement in itself. It's an approval that the design option that the team is building is going to capture and make and drive the requirement to point of success. And this is according to public definition. Business analysis book of knowledge, which is our guide as BAs, if you read it, what is validate requirement? You are validating the requirement against the design option. That the design option or solution option, as you might call it, fulfills the requirement and it drives towards the business goal, right? Again, requirement is a big thing. We can go back and forth and go there, but now that you know, don't forget. So validating requirements is not alone journey. You're validating requirements with your design option. So moving on, now the stakeholders have agreed that what Suleiman is showing us is superb. It's what they want, it fulfills the requirement, and it's going to give us what we want. Now, what is the next thing? Oh, I went back. Sorry for that. So now this is where the main effort goes, right? So our project team have designed what we want to build, right? We've designed the tech stack, shown the stakeholders, this is how we want to do it, this is how it look like, this is what the color will look like, and they've accepted, which is what Suleiman was doing, validating the requirement. Now we can go ahead and build, right? We can go ahead and build and develop. And please, at this stage within the industry, this is where the talk of agility and waterfall comes into play. So maybe somebody who is here and works in an agile environment to say, okay, but when they validate the requirement, does that mean that that's all that is going to happen? Does that mean that you cannot change it? No. And I wish I could dive deeper, but this is where the misconception of agile comes in. A lot of people think that when we say that we're agile, it means that we will just be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The truth is, back and forth with no structure cannot work. And that is why I am presently writing an article that says that you are never 100% agile. It's not possible. You cannot be 100% agile. There has to be structure and there has to be some level of control within your processes, right? But I don't want to dive too deep into the methodology of agile and waterfall. But what we're saying is that when we start building or we're developing this our leave approval application, it doesn't mean that because we validated the requirement and they agreed that we will not do a back and forth. So within the agile environment, what you do is that at every point of the build, so maybe we can call it sprint if you're working in a Scrum environment, you have to do what we call product demo. And the demo simply means, they validated the requirement that everything was okay. Now, when we start building, we want to be showing them. So maybe the time that they did the validation, there were some things they didn't know, right? But now that you are bringing it to them that, okay, now the front page is working, employees can create a profile on their leave approval application, or we can import the list of workers directly from our database into the application. So we're showing to the stakeholders how it's working, what it's doing. At this point, Agile allows change, right? Agile says that we should allow change. We should take in change. Again, another misconception. It's you don't take change blindly. So it's not like, oh, they will now come and say, so on our leave approval, can we make sure that our employees are able to log in into their LinkedIn, right? So it's nice to have, like, I mean, it would be nice that from our leave approval application, I can post directly to LinkedIn and say, hey, yippee, I'm going on leave next week. You know, you want to update your social media uh, followers that my leave has been approved. I'm going on leave next week, right? That's something they brought. We have to assess it. What is the value that this change is bringing to the project, right? So we'll do like a change management assessment at that point. And it's like, it doesn't add any value. Why does our employee need to post on LinkedIn that they're going on leave, but we don't want to trash what they are bringing? We will assess it team, ask the development team, how long will it take you if you want to integrate your LinkedIn on this leave approval, right? Oh, they're saying it's going to take us another 3 months and we don't have the budget for that. So we simply communicate that even though we want to collaborate, which is what Ajay is saying, because collaboration over what do you call it? I usually just knock on my head. Collaboration instead of what is called
Negotiation.
negotiation rather. So at that point, even though we take that thing, we don't want to just accept it like that without checking that. Just okay, let's have LinkedIn. So tomorrow when we do another demo, they say let's integrate Facebook with this application. Then you accept it again. That project will never end because the truth is people always want more and more and more and more and more. They are seeing how you can get bigger things from the application. So we have to control it, right? Because that's why I said you can never be 100% agile. I see a lot of organizations coming, say, oh, we are 100% agile. It's not possible because there still needs to be some level of control in our processes, our requirements, our development. Because if it doesn't happen, then we'll never finish anything, right? If we always want to take feedbacks and use these feedbacks. So a little difference now in the agile and waterfall is that with agile, the BA, who is Suleiman, is having like demo sessions with the stakeholders based on the level of development. So today we did the front page, he goes and do a demo. Tomorrow we've added how maybe the HR can click on a person and see their previous history. He goes back and show them that, okay, now you can now see the previous leave history of a particular member of staff. The person requested for 2 weeks, used 3 weeks. The person requested for 2 weeks, came back after 1 week. They can see history. We show them, oh, nice, because it was in the requirement. Okay, now you can see the history. So there's this demo session back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But in waterfall, very little or no demo sessions. Gather requirements, verified it, validated it. We're just gonna build. If it takes us 3 months, we're just gonna focus our energy on building. So if Sulaiman was working in a waterfall, demo sessions are almost zero. But if it's agile, there's a lot of iterations back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So that's where the agile waterfall comes into scope when you're doing your build and demo sessions. So here we're gonna spend a lot of time here because here is where the outright work is. We're building the application. So here will take us, the vast majority of the activities happens here. And as a business analyst, what is your role? Oh, you've gathered the requirements. Oh, you are now you are now doing all the demos. What other thing would you be doing when the outright development is happening? You're doing a lot of touch base. You should be available. So remember, when we create documentation, it's subject to interpretations. So I say that, oh, I'm writing a user story. As an IR, as the HR manager, I want to be able to see previous leave applications so that I can use that as a review for new applications, right? So you see previous leave applications. The developer can be analyzing it in different ways. Previous leave applications. What's previous leave application? So he wants to call you or he wants to reach out to you. Remember, the developer is not a business person. He doesn't understand business terminology. He understands only coding. So at that point, you should be available for clarifications. Hey, Slimon, are you available for a 10 minutes touch point? Oh, yeah, sure, call me. So I was going through the user stories and I wanted to, I know that you've written the acceptance criteria, but I still, a little bit in that. Can you clarify these requirements for me? Oh, okay. So the previous leave application is the leave that this person has had for over time with us. Okay. So where does this information live? It was like, oh, it exists in our database system under our leave, whatever, whatever. I don't want to go deeper into, we're already going into data mapping and data structure and all of that. But you can give that clarification to the developer based on that doubt that he has. And guess what? Everything runs smoothly. Because if he doesn't have you at that point and he builds something wrong, when you go for your demo, that's when the stakeholder say, oh, when you click on view previous application. Why is it showing us other companies? You say, so when we developed it, it's showing the leave that this person took in their previous company. It's like, why do we need to see the leave they took in their previous company? But it happened because the developer was using a set of data that we didn't need to use. He didn't understand what the previous leave application meant. But you were there to, give the clarifications. And basically, that's all you are really focused on during the build, just being there. And at this point, this is what we call our chill zone. So as a BA, you have 1 hour work day, 2 hours work day. Of course, you're online. If you're lucky enough that you work in an organization where you're doing only one project at that time, it's really chill, right? You're just maybe doing a certification, doing whatever. It's your time, but you're available. When anybody needs you, they can ping you, send you an email, and you will reply immediately. But it's a really chill time for you as a BA because you're just making sure that things run properly and we are building to specification of the requirement, right? So moving on. Now, you've been doing the back and forth based on Agile, back and forth, doing all the demo session. Now, we've now concluded our build that we've developed our leave approval application. Thank you so much, Suleiman. What a wonderful job. This is a massive improvement in our company. You are going to be saving lives. This is huge. Now we ask, the application that we did, is it even working? Of course, we know we use the requirement rightly. Of course, we built to specification. Of course, we've been having a lot of demo sessions, but is this even working? This leads us to testing. And this is not your corona test, right? If you see the yellow distinct, it's not a urine test. This is the testing of the application. Is it even working? Is the solution working? So you might see a lot of tests that you've seen in the past, black box testing, white source scan. I don't want to go into extreme technicalities in those distinct type of testing that we test on an application. I'm just going to be focused on the people intrinsic testing, which is our QA. You can call it the quality assurance, and our UAT. Look at the QA like you're cooking rice, cook the jollof rice. I'm Nigerian, I like jollof, and you want to check, is the Maggi okay? Is the salt okay? Is it done? So when you're cooking the rice, you just put a little quantity on your hands or in the spoon, and you chew, like you do, like, what are you doing? You're testing if it's okay, if the salt is fine, if the pepper is not too much. Maybe you can't change anything at that point with the pepper. But back to our application. As part of our team, we have a guy or a lady, whoever it is, who is a tester. So the tester must, at this point, have written test cases. And test cases are just your requirements with the different languages. So if one requirement says that HR should be able to see previous leave application of the employees, one of the test cases should mirror that requirement. That is the HR able to see previous leave application, right? So the test cases just mirrors the requirement to ensure that the functionalities that has been documented in your requirement is working. And that's why you have the title of the slide, that is this even working? So remember, the tester is part of our team. So he or she must have written test cases. What is your role as a business analyst in the point of testing? First and foremost, if you're lucky, like me, that you're not the one writing test cases in your organization. So there are some organizations that want to kill the BA. The BA is responsible for writing the test cases. It happens, right? Lucky, unlucky you, right? It's also good that you get to learn a lot. And it's not so difficult. You probably need a template and understanding the methodology and the ideology behind drafting test cases. But let's assume that you're lucky. Suleiman is lucky. Kara even is a very good company. We don't want to stifle each person and give like 10 jobs. So we have our own tester, right? So the tester has written test cases. Suleiman, before the tester begins testing, should review the test cases. And the reason why Suleiman is reviewing the test cases is to make sure that the test cases captures the requirement. At this point, I have been talking a lot. I have not heard any voice. Are you with me? Is it making sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, it's making sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's making sense.
Awesome.
making a lot of sense.
Can we ask a question?
Yes, we can pause for some 5 minutes. I mean, I've been saying a lot of things, so let's have a question for 5 minutes.
Okay, now I want to ask, what if you find yourself in a situation whereby the requirements are kind of vague, okay, they've built the application, and when it's time for the UAT testing, and during the testing they now realize that, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this is not here. What do you do?
Okay, if I get your question correctly, you've gathered the requirement, and if you follow the process, this should limit this occurrence. If you follow the process of verifying and validating, this should limit, but however, it happens, right? So you're now in a situation where the new requirements are coming up at the point of testing, right?
Yes.
At this point, this is where you need the project manager and yourself to manage the scope, right? This is what we call scope creep. It's a simple definition of scope creep. So we're already testing, which means that we're almost done. At this point, in Agile, you don't want to trash what they are bringing, but we also don't want to like jeopardize the work that we're taking. So we will take this requirement in, we will analyze the requirement and see. And this is the reason why you need to analyze the requirement. Because when we, let's say, I want to have like a really practical example. So with this, our leave approval application. So you missed the requirement that says that uh, the, what can I say? So inside the leave, we say that they can upload medical records. So according to the government, the employer should not have access to the medical record of employees. So this is a government regulation. But when you were getting your requirement, you didn't see it, you missed it. And now you are in testing, somebody in compliance now comes up and say, hey, I don't think that the documents that you uploaded should not be visible to anybody. What we need is we need a technology that can extract certain information from this document, maybe title of medical leave and the date, right? So when this person uploads this document, we need an OCR, optical character recognition. It's another thing entirely, but it's a technology that exists that can take out this information without exposing the outright documents to everybody. So now that you're in testing, we are now analyzing these requirements, and we're asking ourselves, if we go ahead and launch this application, we might find ourselves in $500 million fine for infringing on PI, personal information. So you can see that when we take this new requirement, we're analyzing it to see what is the benefit to the project. Is it something that we can push forward? Is it something that if we don't use it now, it's going to, the project would even not make sense, right? So when you form an analysis team, you guys can decide on where this requirement falls in and how you're going to use it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Let's take the second question and then we move on. And I see that our BA's hand is on. So the BA working on the project has some questions. Can you please shoot?
Yeah, my question is talking about the validation.
Yes.
Requirement validation. Are you saying it is the prototype that we have that we always take there? Is it the only prototype? If I'm not clear about the validation, can I go to them with a validation of, okay, you said this, we might not be able to come up with wireframes or mock-up for all of them. So does it mean it's only for diagram for them to validate the solution? Is that what you're saying? I can't go there with written words for validation.
So when we're trying to validate the requirements, right, you're presenting to the stakeholders a kind of design option. So what is your design? Is it physical? Is it a picture? Is it a video? You just have to go to something that shows what the design is, because the whole idea is that we are trying to capture that the design that you have fulfills the requirement. And at this point, I always like to do that. So let's do a little bit of check in kind of definitions, right? So I think I should have my bubble guide open, because I was explaining to somebody about the validating the requirement, right? Again, the bubble guide is not a occultic document. That means you don't have to like sit with it and follow it verbatim, right? But it's a guide how we do our stuff. So we're going to look at what does validating requirement means according to the bubble guide. I don't know why it's slanting this way, but let's hope when I get to where I need, it's not. Where am I? 14. No, it has to be previous. Let's see. Okay. Okay, good. So let's see here what validating requirement means. And this is the Bubble Guide version 3, the business analysis book of knowledge. That's what. Okay. You see here, validate requirement. And according to the Bubble Guide, it says ensures. Can you see the Bubble Guide on my screen?
Yeah.
It ensures that a set of requirements or designs delivers business value and supports the organization's goals and objectives. This might sound confusing. Let's look at the second purpose. We look at the purpose of, and that's why the Bubble Guide is good. And that's why I always encourage that doing CBAP, it's not about getting a certification, but it takes
Yeah.
you through this learning phase that you understand a lot of things and rationales why we do certain things. So what is the purpose of validating requirements, right? Why do we do it? The purpose of validate requirements is to ensure that all requirements and designs is to ensure that all requirements and designs, it did not say all requirements alone now, all requirements and designs align the business requirements and they support the delivery of the
Okay.
needed value.
Okay, I got that. I got that. Sorry, I
You
have
see,
one other one before you leave this.
so well, sorry, we will have to continue so that we can have
Okay,
like questions
okay,
at the back. I'm really sorry. I want to take as much questions as possible, but you
okay.
know, time. But I think we should have like some 30 minutes. We started at yeah, towards my time. So yeah, we have like 15 minutes more. So let's just run through the end-to-end flow and then we'll set the questions. I'm really sorry. I wish I could take all the questions right away. Okay. So from current slide. Okay, so back to testing, and I'm sorry, I know that I see Babatunde with his hands up. I'm sorry, I can't just take all of the questions right away so that we can finish this and then we can use the rest of the time for questioning. So the tester, remember that I said that Sulaimon, who is our BA, will review the test cases because we need to make sure that the test cases mirrors the requirement and we're not testing something wrong. Let me give you a practical approach on what happened. I was working on a project. It's a SharePoint migration project, and we were moving one SharePoint version to another version and I gathered the requirement from the business. I have it written down. But unlucky for me, I had two projects running at the same time. So while we were already in the testing phase for one project, I was in heavy documentation and requirement gathering from the other project. So I really didn't have time. Of course, that's not an excuse, but I didn't review the test cases. I didn't check it. So after the QA guy or the tester did the testing, he identified 16 bugs. We were in a daily stand-up that and he says, so we're like, the stand-up is what did you do, this and that. So he says, thank you so much, team. Good morning. Yesterday I completed the testing for so application and I identified a total of 16 bugs. My head first like 16 bugs. And I've currently documented these bugs in the Azure DevOps board, ADO. And Femi, can you please review it? The meeting finished. I went into the DevOps board, which is where he entered all this. I wish I could show you, but it's something that is sensitive to the company. And I went through 16. You will not believe that it was only 4 bugs that were true bugs. Every other thing were not bugs. So just to make it clearer just to make it clearer to you, that application, that website that we were migrating had a contact us page. In the contact us page, there is name, there is email, there is date, there is number, and all of that. In the requirement, the business that we gathered requirement from did not tell us to touch contact form at all. We have zero business with contact form. So we were replicating their contact form as it is. Any flaw that it had should remain. We are not dealing with it. The same way it functions now is how it's going to function. And we're migrating. So it should even be easy. So immediately I identified that about 10, 11, or 12 of these bugs were not bugs because they were out of scope of the requirement, right? So what did I do? I scheduled a meeting with the developer and say, hey, I don't want to call his name. Hey, Sean, his name is not Sean, by the way. And so I've gone through the the bugs that were identified, and I can see that we only have 3 to 4 major issues, but the other ones are out of scope of requirements. What do you think? If we want to do this, how long is going to take? So this is me trying to understand the work effort from the developer's point of view. And he says, okay, so what the bugs were was that in the email on the contact form, if you put ABC, you can submit the form. If you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can submit the form. So the tester is identifying them as bugs, that the email should only take email parameters. The phone number should only take numbers. It shouldn't take symbols. Those are all the tests that the tester was testing. If I had reviewed the test cases, I would have identified in the test case that why are you testing if the email pane takes only email? It's not a requirement. We have no business doing that. So I would have removed it at that point, right? So I now ask the developer, if we want to do this, how long is it going to take? So give or take, we can take a day to fix it. Are you sure? All these 16 or 10, 11 items? He said yes, that they are pretty simple, that they have like, so like some templates that you can just import, and it already has all these underlying parameters in defining what goes into each pane for emails, phone numbers, and stuff. I said, okay, good. I reached out to the PM and say, hey, do we have 1 day of this developer to come to use for this purpose? He said, sure, because we're almost done with the project and we have like almost like another 6 weeks for launch and post go live activities. So that means in timeline we were good to go. So the developer committed to these things and fixed it. If that timeline wasn't suitable, we will remove all the bugs and we will leave it like that, because they are not bugs, because they are not in the requirement. So the business or the stakeholders would not hold us responsible for the functionality of those things, because we did not agree to commit to it. So they are not bugs. So that is the reason why you have to review the test cases, so that you can make sure it's mirroring the requirement and nothing outside of the requirement is being tested. Because if it doesn't happen, it's a real time waster, right? And so the activity that I just said is reviewing the test log, which is where you enter the test outcome. Did it pass? Did it fail? What was the flow that you used in testing a particular test scenario? That's where the test log is, where you can see what the person tested and what the outcome was. And then we assist in prioritizing the box. So Suleiman here as a PA is what I did, the example that I just gave in the practical form. Suleiman would assist in prioritizing the box, which is looking at the level of severity. How important are they? And this is because Suleiman was the one who gathered the requirements. He understands in the requirements, in his requirement analysis. Remember, we didn't go deep into that. He understands what are they must should have, who don't have. He understands all of these requirements on how big they are, right? So he can assist in prioritizing that. Oh, we need to fix this box. It's very important. It's one of the main functionality. We need to fix it. Oh, okay, this one is not really important. I think even if we don't fix it, we can still launch this application. So Suleiman will help in prioritizing the box for fixing. And this is very important, especially when you have a really short timeline. So imagine that you have to launch in another one week, that is like 10 bugs. It all cannot be fixed. If you have a dead, like you have to launch this application. If you don't launch it, the firm will be incurring some fine. So that means you have to decide. Sorry, can you mute, please? So that means we have to decide what bugs we need to fix within 1 week and launch the application, because the repercussion or the implication of not launching this application is going to be a huge fine for us, right? So the BA will help in prioritizing the bugs based on the requirements analysis that he had done prior to this place. So now prioritizing the bugs is fixed. Sometimes the development team might need you to explain. So that's why we have ensured that the development team understand the bugs highlighted in the test log. So the test log showed the bugs and you will help them understand it. So maybe they're saying the developer, and this is why being available comes in. Remember, we were talking about the developer not understanding the requirement, and he developed something that doesn't really capture the expectation. So if he didn't have that discussion with you, the test will show that the test will come with a bug because it's not mirroring. You see, like everything is syncing, like everything is all together. Nothing is outside. If the developer didn't seek your consent or didn't ask you to kind of explain further, he developed something wrong, right? And you review the test cases, which means the test cases mirrors your requirement. That test case will capture that thing that the developer made a mistake on. But if you didn't review test cases, you might not capture anything, and you people will release an application that doesn't work properly. So, right, you can see that everything is connected. So we ensure that the development team understands the box. If they have questions, they'll ask us, oh, so I actually developed this way, but the tester said it's not working this way. What does it mean? And then you can offer like clarifications and say, oh, it's not capturing this expectation. Maybe it's supposed to display this amount of information, but it's only displaying this because the right data table was not integrated or was not being fetched in the application. I don't want to sound too technical, right? And that's why you'll be available for clarifications as the last item on the slide is. So now this is our tester, a member of our team who does the testing. And why do we even have that? We want a tester who is a part of our team to test this application so that we don't go to the people who we are building it for and show them something that does not work, because it shows it's not so good, right? You know what I mean? If somebody gives you something to do, and let's look at it. I know that we have some Nigerians in this meeting, and not all are Nigerians, but I'm sure that there are mechanics everywhere across the world. Look at it from this point of view. You took your car to the mechanic workshop that your car needs to be fixed, and you say the car is making some sort of noise, that when you accelerate, the car goes. That's that's the problem. So you take the car into the workshop, they check it, they said, okay, it's going to take us 2 weeks to fix. But maybe on the 11th day, the car is already fixed. The mechanic or the lead mechanic who is done with the job will now give the keys to maybe an intern and say, hey, Peter, please, can you drive this car and see how it works? So Peter takes the car key and drives the car to confirm that that noise no longer exists. So within our project, that is our tester. So Peter is part of the mechanic workshop, right? And why is the lead mechanic doing that? Because he's so stupid for him to think he's fixed, park the car in the parking lot. The owner of the car comes and say, oh, thank you so much. Where's my car key? And they say, oh, thank you so much. You can, pay there. He pays, take his receipt, goes back into the car, starts it, and in just 2 minutes, accelerates. This person will never bring the car back to you. So the whole idea is to ensure that within the team, we make sure that the application is functioning properly, so that when we expose it to the person who is going to use it, which in form of this practical example of a mechanic and a car, when the customer comes to pick up the car, we are sure that we've tested it and that noise that made the person bring the car here has been resolved. So that is our tester, to ensure that we don't take the application to the end users in a faulty manner. So after the tester has identified the bugs, the development team will fix it. The tester will retest those requirements that failed. And if everything is okay, the tester will provide a sign off that I, as tester, I have reviewed everything. This leave approval application works fine. Good. This is a milestone. Now that from our project team, we think that it works fine based on the requirements, we need the users to come and use it. Remember, now we've not even launched it, so it's not available to all of our employees within Career Haven as our organization. But few users that we have highlighted, maybe 2 people from HR, 3 people from just within the company, 1 person who is a member of the approval. You pick from roles. Again, we can treat UAT as a webinar on its own, right? Because you don't want to have 500 people testing. How are you going to collect the test result? How are you going to analyze it? How are you going to do that? So of course, we can't have the unlimited number of people. So you are going to identify some set of UAT participants. There's a technique to doing this on its own, because you need to ensure that every roles defined in the application has a representing person. If it's not there, that's where we create personas for such roles. Again, UAT, we could go 2 weeks talk about UAT on its own, right? But pardon me that I can't dive deep because of the length of class. So let's assume that we now have 15 people who are going to test our UAT, and they've come from different departments in the company: HR, operations, marketing, sales, whatever. They are now going to test UAT. As a BA, what do you do to and I can tell you that 98% of the time, the UAT is the responsibility of BA. So Sulaimon's responsibility is to conduct the UAT. Because why? Is if Sulaiman that has been dealing with the users, that has been dealing with the stakeholders, he has been the one interacting with them. They know him very well. They have some sort of agreement, good communication. He is in line with everything that has been discussed over time. So he's in the best position to relate to them. So what would the BA do at the start of the UAT? We have what we call the UAT kickoff meeting. Not every BA understands this as well, and I will also tell you how important it is. So Sulaiman will do a UAT kickoff meeting. Gather everybody in the meeting. You can use a PowerPoint slide. Here, we want to educate the users. Again, they've never used this application. They don't understand even the development point of view. We want to educate them on how they will conduct the UAT. If they have a UAT test case, fine, all well and good. If they don't, you are the BA might have to create one. And again, depend on the organization, how big they are, and if they have structure in the development. So let's assume that they do have their own set of test cases. You will review it again to make sure that your users are going to be testing the application based on requirements that are gathered, that they're not going to be testing something that is out of the requirements, right? So in our UAT kickoff meeting, we're discussing things like, thank you so much, guys. It's really been a pleasure working with you. Now we have the application ready for your testing before we finally launch it. So as part of this, we have an Excel sheet that we call the test log. So with this Excel sheet, anytime you run a test based on a particular test case, you will have to enter your result on this Excel sheet. And this Excel sheet has been uploaded into our SharePoint in Teams so that we can always review. So we are educating them that when you find an error, this is where you should store it. Because imagine that you don't have that meeting, you just give them the application, go and test. Oh, we did write it. So one of the end users now sits in their house and is testing the application because it's working remotely, started writing it on paper. How will we know what is testing? Maybe we give them that the UH is going to take 3 days. Is it at the end of the third day that the person will now come and say, these are my bugs, and snaps their paper? So we want to create an environment and create a sync that everybody knows what needs to be done and where the information will be stored. So we walk them through that, hey, and we also confirm the access. So, the application is in a UAT environment. Again, not to sound too technical, but within the UAT environment, we're confirming the access. So we have 15 people who are going to conduct UAT. Do they have the access to the application? Are they able to log in based on their rules? So we confirm all this in our UAT kickoff meeting to ensure that the UAT will start seamlessly. Everybody has the right access to the application and they will not have any blocker when they conduct their testing, and they are aware where they should put their test log, where they should be putting all of the information once they are doing their testing. Most times we want to be something that is collaborative because again, most organizations are working in agile. If we have a 1 week long UAT, you don't want to wait till Friday and then you collate all of the bugs. Maybe now there's 50 bugs on Friday. How do you even start? Then you have to prioritize. So you want to do it iteratively. So they're using the document that you have access to. Somebody goes there and enters a bug, you can see it, and you can start working with your development team. So that means when they identify a bug on Monday, you see it on Tuesday, the development team can start fixing it. And if they fix it, they push it to the UAT environment again. Again, environment is another talk on its own with the dev, the QA, the UAT. But they just push these changes to the UAT, and then the guys can retest immediately. So that way, you don't wait 1 full week, and then the next week the developer start working, use 1 week, then the third week you now retest of those. So to save time or to use agile principles, we want it to be iterative. So whereby we're seeing all of the tests log quickly and we can start fixing it even before the end of the UAT, right? Again, same scenario. The test log, you will review it to make sure it's not something that is out of scope. You will help the development team to prioritize, and you will offer clarifications, same way you did for the testing by the QA. And at the end, if the user says everything is good, we've tested the application and it works perfectly, you will get, BA will get a UAT sign off, which is the user says, thank you so much. Everything that we want this application to do, it's actually doing it. Congratulations. This is a huge milestone that your application is working as expected. The people who gave you the raw data about how it should function are now confirming that what you build or what you built is functioning as they expect. It's a really huge milestone. At this point, I'm logging off my day early. I'm going to the gym, playing blasting music in my ear because I'm so happy. It's a huge milestone. If you fail in this place, the pressure can be crazy because most times when anything feels here, everybody thinks that you gathered the wrong requirement. That's the first thought in any organization. You're like, oh, was the requirement correct? Maybe it was the developer that did the mistake in his coding or whatever. First thing the question is the requirement. Why is it not working as it should be? Then maybe the PA did not write the requirement in the right way, right? But if you have achieved a UAT sign up, it's awesome. It's a really good time. Enjoy your day, Slimon. Give yourself a pat in the back, spoil yourself, have fun, buy ice cream. You've done a good job. So what next? Right? Now the best part, our bragging zone, our buga mode, right? That we have gone 3 months, 4 months, going through the back and forth demos, developing, testing. Now we have an application that will solve a business problem as identified by Suleiman in his first or second week in our company, that our leave approval is arcade and it has a lot of bottlenecks in it. So now is his bragging right that what he envisaged, his vision is coming to reality, right? And there can be a series of technology that people use here. You're launching a rocket from the computer. you're implementing a solution, or you're pushing into production, it all means the same thing. All it means is that we are exposing what we've built to the outright users to now start to use it as they want to use it. So this is our bragging zone. This is the point where when you enter the meeting, you are greeting everybody because you are so happy. And I mean, I do it often. Hey, good morning, good morning. How was your day? Oh, I was, you're so happy because your mood is is really high. It's a bragging time for you, and you should brag about it because it's not so easy to speak to different people and make an application work. It's really difficult. And I guess that's why business analysts are being paid 100K, 120, 115, 90, 75, depending on the country that you are and how much, or even the level of your experience, right? But it's still good salary. And if you're lucky to work from home, it's a really nice position to be, right? So your bragging zone, we're launching the application, and everybody can now have access to it. So the question is this the end of the journey? I mean, the application is built. Is that where it ends? What is going to happen? Everybody's congratulating you. Thank you so much, Lemon. You did a great job. We're really lucky to have you. But does it end there? Right? Of course, that's not the end. So this is where we have what we call the post-go live activities. And now I can tell you that when you see the workload that we are having, I can assure you, if you have 10 interviews, if you can communicate the same way that we just did from 10 interviews, if you can communicate with the level of understanding that we just gave, you will get 6, 7 offers out of 10. 10 interviews, you will get 6, 7 offers, right? But I know that learning it, understanding it, being able to communicate it confidently, they're all separate things. But when you come to that zone of comfort in explanation, in understanding why we do all of these activities, seeing why it could go bad, why it could go good, what is your responsibility, how do you come into the frame? If you can give this flow, and I would say that understanding this flow is all you need to do an interview, because your questions are coming from either of place. Either it's coming from the requirements, your testing, or it's coming from launching, or it's coming from database structure. Your your question cannot come outside of this. Even if it's a, what do you call it? What is the name of this question? Even if it's a this question that we use star method for, what is the name? Sometimes my head is struggling to fetch some terminology. Even if it is,
Behavioral.
yeah, God bless you. So even if it's a
Behavioral.
behavioral, even if it's a behavioral question, if you don't use this flow, you most likely will not answer it properly. So it's behavioral. They're telling you, how do you deal with a difficult stakeholder? Within this flow, pick a difficult stakeholder. Was it from your requirement gathering? Was it from validating requirements? Was it from the solution design? So maybe within your development team, one person is saying, I think we need to make this a web application. The other person, no, 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 no. This has to be a mobile application. So what do you mean? If I need to approve, if I need to make a leave, do I carry my laptop everywhere? I need something mobile so that even when I'm just so I can, that person is just, like, no, I don't think it makes sense to me. Well, so your difficult stakeholder, the experience could come from anywhere on in the flow. But because you understand it, you're able to give a good response using the STAR approach. What is the situation? The situation will mirror at what point the event happened. What was your task at that point? Remember, this webinar is the role of a business analyst. Across this flow, your task was changing, right? Your task kept changing based on what needs to be done and what stage we were. So in your behavioral approach now, you know the situation, which is what was happening at that time. Your task, was it during testing? Your task is this thing. Was it during requirement gathering? Your task is this thing. Was it through the validating requirement? Your task is this thing. Was it in the solution design? Your task is this. So you can understand what was your task at that point and what was your action. What did you do? Right? And what was the result? You were able to give this very clear explanation based on your understanding of what we just went through, which is an end-to-end of building a leave approval application. So explaining what the post-go live activities look like. Remember, the organizations were doing this manually. In Career Haven, we were doing everything that we were doing manually. Now there's an application. Everybody don't know how it works, and as a company you don't want to leave them to guesswork. Like when you buy your phone, nobody tells you, oh, this is where menu is, this is where this. Of course you have like a manual, but like nobody sits you down in the shop. You buy an iPhone 14, nobody will say that, okay, would you, so this is iPhone 14, or if you want to take picture and you want it to be sharp, you do it like this, and if you want it to be dull, nobody sits you down like that. But in the company we need to ensure that people understand the use of the application. So as a business analyst, you might have to conduct training. And remember, these activities are not like must. So depending on the project, depending on the level of understanding of the end users, that's what will necessitate these activities. So it's not like, oh, every application that you work on or everything you should do, you have to do all of this. As a BA, you will have to assess the situation and see that it's needed. It's going to offer value within the organization. So we're training the organization and training our members of staff how to use the application to request for leave. Say, okay, now we've built in everything. You can now log in. So we have Jennifer who works in sales. So Jennifer can log in into the application, can request to leave, and immediately Jennifer is requesting the leave. An email notification is being sent to the HR that there's a leave request. The HR will open the application and see the details of the leave, the day, the time, and everything. Will write a comment in the application that Jennifer requesting a leave to go on this date. According to the HR, Jennifer has rights for leave because she has 3 weeks leave in the year. That's a comment. Immediately she submits the comment. These are all in development. The message gets sent to the line manager. Line manager sees leave approval email, like a notification on their email. The line manager logs in and see, oh, okay, so the HR says it's okay. And maybe it doesn't have any question. There's an approve button there, and there's a decline button there. So you just click on approve. Immediately click on approve. Automatic email notifications get sent to the operations manager. Remember, all this would have been manually, right? The notification could be a pop-up on his computer, could be a pop-up on his phone. These are all requirements that we must have gathered on what is the right notification that that person would use that would offer the value that the person would be able to see it on time and not have to wait 2 weeks. So the operation manager sees this notification and then accepts it, and then automatically the message goes back to the beginning, which is Jennifer, and says, "Congratulations, or your leave has been approved. Kindly inform." You can come with a message. All these are requirements when we're building. It could have a message which would have gathered that if a leave is approved, what do you want to tell the person? Congratulations, kindly ensure that you speak with your line manager a day before you go on leave, just to ensure that they capture any information that is. These are all requirements, right? It can change depending on the organization and the team that you're working in. So we will do a training with them to make them understand how the application works and how it should be used. And sometimes when you're not doing training, you're doing KB articles. KB articles just simply means knowledge-based articles. So you as a BA, having an entire knowledge of the application, can write articles that if I want to log in, what should I do? If I need to submit a leave approval outside of my leave time, or my leave is finished, but I still need to submit that I need to go on leave. All of these, you put it in a KB article that the end users can do to know what they need to do, right? You can also be troubleshooting. It's a new application. So while they are using it, there might be some errors here and there. And so they are saying that, oh, I cannot sign in, or when I sign in, it's not showing my department, all those kind of little things. So you as a BA can help in troubleshooting. And when you hear the word troubleshooting, it doesn't mean that you are the one that will fix the problem, right? But you know who will fix it because you were part of the development team. So maybe the issue is in regards to the data that was being fed from the database. Maybe it's not fetching the person's record. You know that you cannot carry down with your project manager. You know you should be talking to the database administrator. So troubleshooting doesn't mean that you are the one who will fix the problem, but you know who will. So you are then in the team as part of your post-go live activities to ensure that when there's a problem, you can channel it to the right person, right? And then we have our artifact handover. Remember, through the course of this project, you developed a lot of documentation. You will have to submit it to maybe the department of HR, and they can keep it for future improvement. So whenever they need to do another project, an upgrade or whatever, they have that set of documentations to refer to on how the previous version was being built. And within your team, you could be having like retrospective. How did we do? Did we finish in the right timeline? Was there anything that we could have done better? What went wrong? What went right? All of these things, right? Regardless of if it's a Scrum team or not, I think that every team should have a retro to see what they did wrong. Maybe the developer will say, "Oh, I took my vacation at the wrong time, and because of that, it affected the project." So also the retro gives us an insight in what we could have done. And you personally now, as a business analyst, as part of your effort, you can assess your BA approach. How did I fare? So in this project, how did I do my requirement gathering? Did I use the right techniques? How did I do my stakeholder engagement plan? Was it done rightly? Did any of my techniques or tools used, did it affect my work? This is just you personally, and this is how we grow. when you assess your own work and see what you could have done differently. Because guess what? When you jump on another project, you will do it better. So again, these are not like strict rules to follow, but they're just best practices that helps us maximize our work and to be that BA that organization, they're so scared to lose you because they can see that the value that you bring. Like if you tell them you get another job, they will beg you to stay. They might not be able to offer money because sometimes that's with governance, right? But they will really beg you to stay because they see that the value that you bring to the table. And this brings us back to our type of business analyst. Don't be the what do I have to business analyst. Be that person who is up and running, who is challenging different situations and coming up with new ideas and making the organization see where they can improve and how they can do things better. And that's how you get your promotions. That's why you can demand your salary. You say, hey, you guys are paying me $50 an hour. I want 65. Okay, we can stop at 60. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can't have such negotiations, right? So, and that brings us to the end of our class. So I really hope that beyond you enjoying my stories and explanation, that if you're a business analyst in the role already, you learned something today in kind of approach and how we do things. And if you're an aspiring business analyst, it's a really chill profession. Few are unlucky to be in an organization that is toxic. That happens. So maybe you might have heard about it from some people say, I don't like my job, I'm a BA. It's contextual, right? You can find yourself in an environment that is hostile, right? So that happens. But that's very small of occurrence. So we do have our business analysis bootcamp that is starting in January. It's starting January 14th. And like I said, we're offering 20% discount if you would like to join. We also have starting January 14th, our data analysis and project management, our Scrum Manager, also starting in January. And we believe that our approach to trainings is not just giving you the PowerPoint. You see, today we went with the PowerPoint slide, but you can see that it came up with a lot of practical scenarios to make you understand why we do two things, why we do certain things. Because beyond knowing your task, understanding why you even have to do them is how we can show our expertise as business analysts. And that's what we see that is different from different trainings, right? That people can tell you, oh, I'm doing a prep session for somebody who has gone through a boot camp. I'm like, okay, why do you validate requirement? They know they have to validate requirement, but they don't even know what validating requirement means and why it doesn't need to be done or what encompasses validating the requirement, right? So that's our focus in career having to be able to give you the right expectations as professionals within your role. So if this interests you, you can sign up by simply sending an email to admin@careerhaven.ca, or you can WhatsApp us on the contact that we showed earlier, which is +1 289 244 1090. And that is the end of our webinar today. So we're going to have questions, and I will just put this slide up to slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so now it's question time, and we will take it by raising up your hand. And if you don't want to talk, I mean, for sometimes people don't want to talk, please just drop in the chat. And okay, great. So let's start. I see that we have one hand up. So Babatunde, can you please ask your question?
All right. Thank you very much. It's been a very enlightening class. However, I'm a practicing BA. I teach
Awesome.
BA and stuff like that. And one of the reasons why I'm in this class is it's because of the title of the class, the role of a BA in an IT environment, right?
Yes.
Because first of all, I see that people teach BA from the perspective of IT alone. It's more than that. It's wider than that. However, this
Absolutely.
is my question. In you highlighting the roles of a BA, I see that at the end of the day, you were able to touch around the roles and responsibilities of a product owner and a scrum master. So my question is this: there are conflicting interests, very conflicting in an ideal project where you have a BA and a product owner, right? I've been privileged to work at very high, the highest peak as a BA.
Yep.
And even from the lowest part, I've also been privileged to work at that level. And I see that this problem is from bottom up or bottom down, or top down. It exists almost everywhere, right? So how do you make sure there's no conflict of responsibilities or interests when a a product owner and a business analyst are both in a project, right? Because you find out that some of their roles are very intertwined and very interwoven, right?
Yep.
From the point of requirement gathering and what have you, right? And like I said, I've seen that again. We have been able to touch on Scrum Master job, product owner job, while explaining the role of a BA. So please, can you please just more or less, really, truly, just like in one word or in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are really the job of a BA in an IT environment.
Thank you so much for the question, and thank you for your level of expertise in explaining the rationale. And if you follow the presentation, there was a place where we talked about the methodology that is being used, which was not heavily dived into, because that would just mean that we will spend more time here. So we focused on looking at the BA from the kind of view of what an organization wants you to do without really concentrating on the changes that affect, like the methodology brings into the role. So are you working in a Scrum team? Or even some companies don't even understand if they are using Scrum or not. They just know that they do one or two Scrum ceremonies, right? So that is why it is like that. And you see that we didn't touch base into the different roles of maybe a PM, a solution architect, a product owner, or all of these different roles. The methodology will change the approach, right? But this is like an high level overview of what your job would look like or would look like if you work in a BA and you're developing an application, right? Which is why we say the role of a business analyst in software development. It has not fully taken into consideration the specific methodology. So are you using Scrum, or are you using Lean software development? All of these will change the dynamics. But however, even if you change the dynamics, your role are pretty much still in line with the deliverable that we put across. Does that answer your question?
All right, yeah, I mean, it's fine. So sorry, I have just two more again. I'm sorry. Again, I tried to
So we
unlearn
can
and
we can
relearn.
take
That's my
we can take one more,
yeah.
not because I don't want to take all of your questions, so that we can also have other people. So, but feel free to shoot.
Okay, again, you during the course of your training, you mentioned that I don't know whether this is even a question or so. Let me say 3-1. The lady that asked the question that said, "Oh, what if at the point of testing, certain things come up, and then what do you do at that point?" And I mean, I think you did answer well. I just wanted to add that, of course, if you are following the scope, what will have been added at that point will need the change request, right? Having said that, you've mentioned that you don't believe that people can be fully agile, right?
100%
I
agile.
Yes, 100% agile, and because there is always a reason to add more, right? But I mean, I'm of the opinion that if agile is truly practiced well, people can be. But again, I've not seen it being practiced well, and this is because of all these things you have mentioned,
Yeah.
right? And the roles and people not really knowing their roles, because yes, there will be there will be more requests, and that is why we have Kanban being the framework under the agile methodology, which helps to capture that, to say, oh, this is a board that is open, this project doesn't close. I mean, softwares or applications like WhatsApp are probably using Kanban board because there's always a need to add more features. So I believe in a way that, yeah, if it is properly practiced, it can be. So, I mean, thank you very much. It was very enlightening again. And I mean, I did learn a lot. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And just like, based on what you said, I was doing like an agile expo to some students, and I'm saying that an organization cannot be truly agile except they change the organogram. So how do they move from being waterfall to agile and not to change the organization structure? I'm sure you'd agree with me that for you to be truly agile, there has to be changes, not just in the project development framework, but in the entire organization as a whole, on how things are being approved or how projects are being handled, right? So that's why we say that can an organization truly 100% agile, right? So that's where that is. But thank you so much. And again, I'm happy. Like I said, it's really nice to be here and have also people in the job. We learn from each other, and that's how we get better. Thank you so much for your contribution. So we have next on the line. I don't know who the person is iPhone IB. So your answer, or please, you can unmute and ask your question. So I'm just taking it based on the sequence of the reason of the end. iPhone IB, if you can hear me, please ask your question. But if you cannot hear me, I have the next name as, I hope I'm not pronouncing it wrongly, is Christo I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but please
You're not pronouncing it correctly.
I'm sorry.
It's Kizito.
Oh,
Okay, thank you
Kizito.
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's really a question, because I like the training. It was quite very well summarized. A really good outlook in business analyst, and I'm obviously going to be registering for the classes, because I'm switching to business analyst. And please, can we get the material that you use for this course with the recording?
Yeah, sure,
And
100%.
okay, please. I would really, really also. I don't know. I sent you a message personally. I don't know if you could look at it and give me a
Yeah,
reply.
I will
Thank you.
definitely check it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. And next person is just checking my Zoom here, and it's Kende. Kende, please, can you ask a question, please?
Hi, Femi. Thank you for this insightful lecture. So I posted a question on the chat, but I noticed you did not answer the question. But I also want to add this, that I think so many organizations actually think they're practicing agile, but I agree with you that most organizations do not practice 100% agile. For instance, in my organization, when I resumed, I was told they're fully agile, but I discovered it's not 100% agile. They do not even have like a process like for their agile methodology. And most of them like they practice hybrid methodology. Some of the projects I've handled, they say it's agile, but it's actually waterfall. And some they say it's agile, but it's not, right? So yes, I agree with you. And sometimes they say, oh, one of the skills of a BA is to follow the process and practice and of the organization. But what if you find out that some of their process is wrong? Because most of the time, a BA may not be managed by a BA. You might be managed by a project manager, or like an IT manager who does not have the core.
Infrastructure. Let me help you. An infrastructure, hardware, and software manager.
Yes,
They're
I
managing you.
okay.
Completely a different
You
person.
understand what I'm
I
saying,
see
right?
you
Yes.
very well. Yes,
Yes, and I
And
have the practical
this
example.
person does not even understand
very well.
the practice.
Yes.
And this person is your manager or your director. And
Very
this
Awesome.
person will start telling you, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done. And sometimes when you say, oh, no, I think this is how it's done. As a BA, this is what I know, and this is how I think it should be done. But because you don't want to go against your director or your manager, you have to follow the person's process, knowing fully well that what that person is saying is actually wrong. For instance, I asked that question, who is accountable for a UAT? And what's the difference between a UAT and a BAT? Yes, a BAT, most BA does not, they don't even understand what a BAT is, a business acceptance testing. And I was told in my organization, oh, no, the users must be accountable for a UAT, and the BA does not have any role to play in the UAT. And I said, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. Like a BA should be accountable because you need to validate that because sometimes the super users, they just know, oh, I want this process. This is how I think it should work. And then they start noting down some bugs. But you as the BA would actually validate that, are these really bugs? Are these, for instance, this happened to me like yesterday. And I validated the result and I said, no, these are actually enhancements. What I need, the report I need from you, I want to know the bugs. I want to know the issues that you tested. Don't send me reports with enhancements for post-development. I want to like, so I have that argument that the BA should be involved or not accountable or should be accountable. Yes,
Okay,
I
so
know like BAT, yes, the BA would be involved because they are testing that this product or this software actually meets the business needs or the
it
business
delivers
goals.
the value.
Exactly, right.
So
So
I can
sometimes it's really different in various organizations, and the
absolutely.
role of a BA sometimes are not like you just know, oh, these things are wrong, right?
Yes,
So in
and
this situation, what do you advise?
so I can come in here and I really have a very practical experience in this. So I am opportune to work in an organization that is helping to migrate legacy application to newer version for, I can say the name of the company, Nestle, right? And they have their structure. The organization is 26 years old. And what they do is they this company, maybe I don't want to talk too much on them, but it's Nestle Foods. So this company have series of legacy applications which are like intertwined. These applications feeds off each other. They use it for determining how they ration materials in production. Don't let me mess up with the explanation by going into details of what the project is. But they use a particular application called Enterprise Architect. It's EA. With the EA, it's a really old tool, but it's really good that you can manage everything in your BA documentation, right? So when I jumped on the project and I'm asking questions, oh, Femi, you're going to be working on this legacy application. So we need you to do the data mapping. And once you die, you know, do the high level requirement, do the DLR, the detail level requirement, do the acceptance criteria, blah, blah, blah. And again, like I said, I don't want to be the B of do this, do that. And I'm asking the questions, okay, what brought us here? So this application here, I need to work on it. It's a legacy application. How did you bring about this project? I was like, oh, so 1 year ago, we met with the business and we kind of, you know, ranked the application in terms of how we're going to migrate it. And so the discussion happened 1 year ago. This is an organization that is agile. This discussion happened 1 year ago, and now I'm here to work on this application. Do you know what could have changed in terms of the materials that they're now using or the staffs, everything? So I'm questioning them that we can't do it this way. You had a meeting 1 year ago. A lot has changed. They say, oh, this is how we do it, blah, 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 blah. Again, when you're new in an organization, you don't want to form enemies. So this is where your own personal discretion comes in. You don't want to form any enemy at that point. You don't want to be the strong, oh, no, we have to do this way. No, you just have to make your point and sit back and watch things unfold. And luckily for you, if there's a mistake, that's when you can, you know, raise your voice and say, ah, yes, we can use this one. If we had used it, maybe we won't have this issue. So what is their approach? The approach is that now they've onboarded an application to me to do the migration, right? From a legacy application to a newer version. And their approach is that the UI UX team will document the design, right? While I'm gathering my detail level requirements. And the UI UX team first create their own design, like, okay, they want it to look like this, the home page should look like this. When you click on this menu, you should pop up like this. Zero requirement from the business after 1 year, right? And then they make a design, and the design takes like 2 months because a lot has changed. Instead for us to start by gathering the new requirement and designing what it will look like to save us our time, they are doing it the other way. And at the end of, I think it was like after a month of complaining, spoke with other BAs in the company, they now agreed to meet with the BA and for us to discuss how we want to do it. So in your organization, it might not happen in your first month, it might not happen in your third month, but please, you need your job. So you have to understand the fine line or the thin line of you trying to change an existing process and and you retaining your job, right? So most times as BAs, with a lot of things that can change, but remember that an organization, and most times it comes from people who are like 15 years there, 20 years there. So it's like, do you know more than me? This organization existed for 20 years and we were making profit. So now that you're here, do you think that it's your own agile methodology or agile mindset that is coming to change a lot? So you have to be careful of when to put the pedal or when to take your leg off the pedal. So you will raise the suggestions, you will bring your input because you want to come to the team and offer your own ways of doing things. But please be careful at the point where you just have to backpedal. We had a meeting and the PS was like, okay, we've told them what we want to do. If they want to do it, fine. If they don't want to do it, we will keep using the processes. But at every point in time, we'll be highlighting the bottlenecks that we're facing during the, you know, the daily stand-up and say, hey, we have this problem, or I have to redo this work because of this. And when exposing them to all of these gaps, they will at some point start to see reasons with you on why your approach makes more sense. And overall, you will be able to implement that improvement opportunity that you see. And that's the way that you can even get to senior roles because now they see you as the one who created their own processes and, you know, can go bigger salary, bigger position. So yeah, thank you so much for that. It's something that happens every time. So, and the next hand is Samuel. So Samuel, please, can you ask your question?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I do have lot of questions, but I think I'll just ask the most important. So what's the cost of the training
What's
and
what?
cost of the training?
Okay. So presently it's 2000 Canadian, but like I said, you have 20% discount for everyone on this call. So which means that I will use the attendance of the Zoom meeting, give a 20% discount. And that's a lot for coming to this webinar. That's $400. So that means if you're here and you would like to enroll, we'll give you 1600.
Okay. So can you please drop your maybe is a WhatsApp
Yes,
number?
it's showing on the screen. See here to register, admin at careereven.ca or WhatsApp +1289. Can you see it?
I can't because I actually joined in late, so maybe
Oh.
that's
No, can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Okay. Let me drop it in the chat then. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay, yeah. So it's +1 289 244 1090. And for everyone asking about the recording, so we do have a YouTube channel, and the recording will be on the YouTube channel and that's where we upload all of our trainings. Sometimes have like free training in Power BI or use of Excel and some other things, and we hope to have trainings in use of other tools, Azure boards, Jira, and all of that, so that we can be better. So thank you so much, Samuel. The WhatsApp is in the chat. And how long is the BA bootcamp for? It's going to be
Big
for 3 months. It's going to be for 3 months.
mama.
And
Good
the
good
sorry,
evening.
can you mute, please? Sorry. So the bootcamp would be for 3 months, but the last month is going to be on a project. And this is also one of the things that we think that it's very important. So we will be working on. Oh, sorry. Can you please mute? Oh, I have to mute everybody. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So it's going to
He's
be for
looking at you. He's literally looking at you guys.
Oh my god. I have to mute everybody. Sorry.
Say bye-bye. He can't hear. He can't hear.
Okay. So apologies for that. And I will share the screen once again. Okay. We don't see my screen, right?
No.
Okay. So the training is for 3 months, as I said, and the last month will be for projects. And this is a live project where we have UI UX, we have a developer, because we want to make it practical. Because we have seen that the major problems with training is that when you don't when you're not in that environment, when you get to an interview and you get asked some certain questions, you don't know how to explain it. You don't know how to articulate yourself because you've not been in that environment. And it's more like what you don't have, you cannot give, right? So that is the whole idea, that beyond making you understand the job as a business analyst, we need you to do the job so that you can communicate for sure. Why do we have a UI UX? What do they do? So when we have a UI UX design, how do we link this to the database? Because it's quite important, and your project could fail if the wrong data is being fetched when you're having a particular menu or item. All of this practicality is what we want to focus on. So when you get to your job, I'm a failure if after 1 month you still need my help as a trainer, because you should have more than enough in your arsenal. In the first 2 weeks, you can reach out. It's understandable, new environment, maybe some things for clarification. But in a 1 month on your job, you should be fine. And if you really go through a proper training, and that's what we hope to do. We don't want to have you go to the boot camp and then you start having to pay somebody $1,000 every month because they need you to help you do this or to help you do that. We want to make sure that when you do a BRD, why do you need it? What do you need a separate element in BRD for? If it's not there, what value is it taking away from the documentation? If it's there, what value is it adding? Why do you need to have a swim lane? What value is it having? So all of this practicality is what we believe will make sure that you understand your role. And when you do get a job, you will be fine, right? So I'm going to share my screen again, and we can have two more questions. So we're just a minute above the time. I'm sorry. So let's take the next 4 5 minutes to take the last question from Sulaiman Yusuf and I from IB. So please, Sulaiman, you can go on.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, can you? Yeah. I just want to ask if After finishing this course, do I get any certificates? And does he have to the PDU needed to write the CBAP exam? And also to know if the center, I mean, your whatever, if it's a certified place, it's somewhere you can go when you are rendering the certificate to be worthwhile in the market.
Absolutely, and that's the good thing. So as we have here, that Career Even is an IIBA endorsed education provider, and we have the legal right to issue you an IIBA endorsed certification. So our facilitators have the right certifications, and the curriculum has been certified by IIBA, and it gives you the required PDUs if you would like to write your CPAP exam. So you get the PDUs, you get an IIBA endorsed certification upon the completion of the program.
Thank you.
Awesome. So iPhone IB, I called you the last time. I don't know if you're still here or is one of our ghost attendants. iPhone IB, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Please ask
Okay,
your
so
question.
I don't know if this is really a question, but I want, like, when we're talking about the app, so I want to know, like, how long does this application last in the organization, and then if it gets to the time where you have to launch the app, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe the business analyst maybe it gets to a point, maybe the person now realized that, okay, what do we need to, like, add some other things to this app, like if there are new things there, maybe there are new stuffs to be added to the app. How is that going to be possible?
Okay, great. And all these, again, it's embedded under the governance of the organization, right? So what do we mean by governance? It's like how they deal with the life cycle of an application or a web page that they built, right? So remember that when Sulaiman came into the project, he was doing what? He was doing a current state analysis. He was trying to understand how do we do this from end to end and how can we make it better? So within an organization, having you as a BA or some other BAs, it's a continuous activities. We like just like a lean methodology. How do we continue to reduce time? How do we continue to reduce the materials that is involved? How do we reduce the amount of people that need to carry out these certain processes? So it's a continuous review, right? It doesn't end. So within the organization, if maybe Sulaiman wakes up after 3 months and says, hey, this application is not really giving us the value. I believe I have something in the metaverse that now you can simply sit in your living room and say, HR, I'm going on vacation, and HR will hear it from their own office and look at it. No, again, it follows the same pattern. He will have to, it's an initiative at that point, it's an idea, and it will go through the same route. So now it's heavily dependent on how the organization handles this. So is it an organization that has the resources to keep improving an application every 3 months, every 6 months, or are they ranking that application as something that they want to keep improving every year? So it's all about the organizational governance in relation to how they do improvement. It also matters if there is the amount of change that happens within the business line. So maybe the government wakes up tomorrow and says everybody must be entitled to 2 months of vacation. But in the application that we develop, we have a rule that says once you apply for a leave in 1 week, the application records it 1 week has been used. Another 1 week, another 1 week. And once it's 3 weeks, your apply for leave blanks out. You can no longer click on apply for leave. But if the government changes it that everybody must have 2 months of leave, right? That's a change, right? Apologies. So that's a change. That's a change that we need to make. So in that case, even if the organization feels like they won't touch the application until the next 1 year, they have to do that change. And that at that point, they will have to raise the adding of the new feature, which could be a mini project at that time, because we're not building it from scratch. But the BA could be the one, or usually will be the one to also facilitate all of that. So what is the change? What are the new features that we want to add? And then it goes through all again, adding the new feature, which is the development, and then we test it again and make sure that the new feature that has added works fine and it has not broken the existing functionalities. And then they push again and we use it. So it all depends on how the organization manages the changes and the upgrades and stuff within the application, and how important these changes are. Where are they coming from? If it's something that has to do with the law, you don't have a choice, because if you're not compliant, you get fined. And you're looking at what is the implication of getting fined $500,000 when you could have simply used $50,000 to implement the new feature. right? So of course, no organization will make such irrational decision to rather pay the fine of 500,000 rather than implement a feature that's going to cost them 50K in paying the developer and the project team, right? So I hope that answers your question. And
Yeah, thank you very much.
awesome. So let's go to the chat. I'm sorry that I've not been looking at it because, let's see what questions we have. Most of the questions are about recording. So please drop the WhatsApp group number. Okay, thank you. I will be sending out an email communication via the admin at careereven.ca to all the participants here. And that email will contain my WhatsApp number and all of the details that you need to have, and also links to previous classes that we have in regards to data analysis and stuff. And we're having more. I have a section on preparing for an interview. How do you prepare for an interview? And I'm hoping to keep doing that, because the whole idea is wanting to get trained is another to get the job. There are two different things, and you might get trained. If you don't get trained on how to get the job, it's another thing. And I used to say, maybe a little brag in my being in Canada, I've done 4 BAs interviews, 3 job offers, and the last one I had the last interview, the senior VP, which is like 4 rounds of interview. So it seems like it's working, right? So it's an approach that we've used. Students have used it, and it's working crazily. That but one thing that I also want to communicate is this, that sometimes I have people who come to my prep sessions. You can't give what you don't have. And sometimes I have to prep a person, but in a 2 hour of prep session, I'm actually teaching BA. And that's where the gap comes in. That's why sometimes some people do like prep sessions, it takes some time to get a job, because if you don't know it, even when we teach you how to answer the question, you answer the question based on your understanding of the different tasks, responsibility, techniques, tools. So when you don't know this, it's even difficult more. So that's why I always encourage, it's a continuous learning, right? You might have done a boot camp before, you might be doing one presently. Please keep learning, keep understanding, because you can't give what you don't have. No matter how much you have a prep section, I teach you how to answer questions, how to show value to the organization. If you don't know it, you just don't know it. Okay, so thank you, Samuel, for adding the WhatsApp. A suggestion: can you create a Telegram group for all? 100%, and I will definitely do that. Thank you so much for that insight. And moving on, please drop your YouTube link. Thank you. So let me do that right away. And I'm just gonna stop sharing. It's okay. Okay, I think I can drop the YouTube link without stop sharing. Okay, yes, of course I can do that. So I will drop the YouTube link in the chat, so you can just follow, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, and whenever we drop a video, when you subscribe, click the notification bell, make sure it's turned on. So when you turn the notification bell on, it means that when a video drops, you just get automatic notification on your maybe laptop or mobile device that Career even just uploaded a new video. So even if you miss a class, you didn't see that we had a section, automatically you will get that notification on your uh, device that says that Karai even just uploaded a video. That's one way that you can keep up with new videos. Like I said, we plan to have a lot of free trainings because we think that it's very important for our growth. I am still growing, right? And I will keep growing as a business. Those who know me, they know every time I'm writing a new certification, I'm doing the CRM, ERP, Power Apps. I think 3 weeks ago, I did the Microsoft certification for Power Apps and Dynamics 365. That's how we grow as a person, right? And that's why the business analysis and with the tech career as a whole, it's good, because sometimes in your job you're less busy. Use this to improve yourself, learn a new skill, right? Maybe you want to learn RPA, you want to become a business analyst who's like PAA, process analyst, process automation analyst, and all that. So it's a continuous improvement. You never stop, you keep growing, and that's how we survive in the tech space. And a lot of people say, oh, Amazon is firing, Google is firing. I don't care if they're firing. If I start submitting an application tomorrow, I will get a job in 2 weeks, right? It's not because I'm saying it with my mouth. It's because I've been constantly improving myself. So if you don't want to hire me as a business analyst who is focused on software development, you will hire me as a data analytic BA. You will hire me as somebody who understands the migration of legacy applications, or you will hire me to do automation of your processes, right? Because I have an understanding of Blue Prism, UiPath, or tricks. Again, just make continuous improvement your daily thing. You keep learning, right? You never get tired. And I can tell you that once you learn for 1 month, it becomes your behavior. You just want to keep learning. So let's look for any question that we missed, just so that we don't so I'm scrolling down to the chart. Can you send me the flyer? Okay, I will do that as well, and I will send it via email as well. can I reach out to you personally? Please, yes, you can do. You have my number right now. And do I get a certificate after training? Of course, yes. And like I said, it's IIBA certified, and you get a PDUs because you have the right number of hours, 40 plus on your training. Cost of training, we've gone over it. It's 2,000 Canadian dollars, approximately 1.5 US. But for everybody on this call, you're getting a 20% discount as long as I can find your email on the attendance record. And for people who are not here, we're having 10% discount, so they can get it $200 off. So that's just 200 for showing up today. We value your time here. So how long is the training? We've gone over that. It's 3 months, but the last 1 month focus more on developing a working solution. So not just we coming to class to share PowerPoint. We will be working with the developer, your
Sorry,
UI
I didn't get
UX.
how much you said it is. Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't get how much you said the training will cost.
Oh, it's 2,000 Canadian and 1,500 USD. So, but if you are in this training today, you get a 20% discount. So that makes it 1,600 Canadian. And for US, 20% discount on 1.5, I believe is $300. So that's 1,200 USD. And if you have other people who would like to join, but we're not in this training, they can get right now up until the December 31st, they can get a 10% discount. So for anyone who is not here that you know, they can get it for 1,800. But for everyone here, the incentive for showing up today, because I mean, it's a Saturday, you could be in a party, right? You could be having fun. And we appreciate that you're here, so we give you an extra discount. So you get a 20% discount if you are in this webinar. And going through, I think I answered all of the questions. So you will be getting the recording once to YouTube sent to your email with the flyers, with our email, and also link for registration of the different courses. And yes, so I believe I've gone through all of the questions, and I will stop sharing my screen right now. And I just want to say a word of appreciation to you guys. Like I said, and I appreciate my colleagues who are here, who have been who are BAs as well. You guys make it worth a while. And if I come here to see all of my stories and you're not here, it's fruitless, right? So I do appreciate you for taking your time out. Feel free to reach out to me, and I will be sharing my LinkedIn in the chat as well. So I am very active on LinkedIn. I probably use LinkedIn more than I use WhatsApp. So if you would like to follow me on LinkedIn, I will be dropping my LinkedIn in the chat. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, write me a message, and please, in case I'm not replying on time, not because I don't want to, sometimes my hands can be full, but as soon as possible, trust me, I will reply your messages and questions. So, and if you're working as a BA, you have some issues at work for whatever reason, please feel free to reach out. We can have a discussion and see what is going wrong and how you can rescue the situation. Like I said, we're all building an ecosystem of professionals that we can grow, right? And we're trying to change the usual thing that when as Nigerians, Africans, or as immigrants, we have to do some certain jobs that don't pay well. You can earn $100 an hour. You can earn 120, depending on the skills that you build. So thank you so much, everyone. I will be sending the meeting to you. And if you would like to drop your LinkedIn in the chat, please feel free to do so, because your network is your net worth, right? Sometimes jobs comes from people that you know. Feel free to drop your LinkedIn in the chat so that people can